Into the fray.
Into the fray. Hello, hello, my
True
good
words.
friend. It is good to hear from you again.
True words have never been spoken.
How are you doing? I am so sorry for keeping everyone delayed. I have no excuses. I only offer my apologies, and I'm happy to get on with the wonderful program that we have.
Oh, not a problem, man. It's quite all right. I was just kind of hanging out. I almost fell asleep myself because I was laying down on my futon, and then it was just one of those days. I could have passed out easily, but I was just relaxing, chilling out, and I'm also
Shooting some bebop outside of school.
Yeah, I was gonna go with that angle, but I thought it was too easy. But
yeah, but I'm glad. I gave you some time to relax, but you know me. I can't let you relax for too long because I always got to come in with something defiantly obstinate to your plans of relaxation. So here I am, fashionably late or just late. There's no fashionably about it. So yeah, I am very, very sorry, and I'm ready to record. And I got some interesting things to talk about with you concerning Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pawn.
Absolutely. I know we got into a little bit the discussion last episode. We didn't get too deep into it because I guess we were still kind of late. We were kind of late into the podcast, so we didn't want to increase the time as it was the last time we recorded. So I'm definitely down to talk a little bit more about the Phantom Pain. That's really all I've been kind of playing sporadically every now and then. Have sprinkles here and there. Definitely one of the longest games I've played that I have not beaten yet because it's very long. I mean, I've been playing it over the course of like weeks now. I mean, here little by little because I don't really dedicate too much time with it. I'm kind of starting to get that fatigue a little bit because some of the mission structures are a little bit very, very repetitive. But I'm still want to stick to it because I want to unlock different items that I haven't seen yet. There's just so much out there that I've seen online that I just I want to just kind of keep going and see what I can unlock. Just so much to unravel. You're
not gonna believe this. They actually give the option to give quiet close.
No way.
Yeah, I know. I didn't believe it myself. I thought this was some scam artist like the guy who said if you leave Super Smash Brothers Melee on for 24 hours, you get to play as Sonic. That's not true. And I thought this was just the same thing, but it turns out, you actually can give quiet some more conservative outfits.
But they make it kind of very obscure or hard to do. In traditional Kojima fashion, it was hard enough to even get to the point where I unlock something very interesting. There's just so much I haven't even seen yet that I've heard about. I got the water pistol. I have no idea what it does. I don't really want to. I kind of want to discover it for myself, but it seems to be kind of helpful in some situations. It kind of stops enemies in their tracks.
Mm-hmm. It makes them confused more than anything, and that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Really. You are the leader of a mercenary band, and you pull out the Super Soaker.
Yeah, it was a very Kojima thing to do and put in that game. So I'll have to try it out more. I haven't really put it in my arsenal for obvious reasons. It doesn't really work against boss fights. But yeah, I figured.
Yeah, especially with the man on fire. It even caused that's kind of a good idea for. Like an interesting idea, but that's not going to work now.
Maybe a fire hose.
That's actually a very interesting thing that we could talk about, the structure of the world and the game, especially since you really start to notice a lot of the minor annoyances over how many times you have to you quit, replay, do a mission, leave, go to Mother Base, come back. It's like a lot of things could have been cut to... with all the cuts going on in the game, that you think they would have been able to more efficiently move you from the battlefield to base, drop you, like parachute you into safe security, and you don't have to go with P-Quad every single time you need to land on something. But whatever, we can get into that in a little while.
Yeah, so I want to go ahead and welcome everybody to episode 167 of Bloody Thumbs podcast. I am Splinter47, joining me as always, Mr. C.H. Gorog here on the podcast.
Hello, hey, howdy.
just wanted to kind of get that intro out of the way
Yeah.
for the folks out there listening. Absolutely, man. It's definitely going to be something we definitely talk about. So how's everything been going with you, man? I've been pretty busy myself. I've just kind of been keeping myself busy with work and still kind of in the process of getting things situated at my place. I already kind of moved into the new apartment now. I still have my stuff, some of my stuff at home that I haven't gotten back for yet. My comics mainly. I haven't gotten my comics yet.
You gotta put that on the list, man. You don't want to let your mom or any of your family members to have a garage sale and just accidentally like, oh, here's my limited edition Grant Morrison signed Batman story arc. What will you pay for it? 63 cents? Sold. It's like, no, you gotta keep that in pristine mint condition.
I wish I had a signed copy of a Grant Morrison comic. That'd be my dream. He's definitely one of my favorite comic writers. Definitely in the last couple of years since I started reading comics. Definitely one of my favorite story arcs he's written for Batman.
With how batshit crazy he is, I assume that like a letter is on each page. So like there's no actual like complete signature. It's like you have to find it yourself.
You probably would make it obscure. It's just how kind of crazy out there Grant Morrison is, especially with some of his stories with Doom Patrol that I read. It was just pretty out there and pretty cerebral.
I feel like he's like 3 bad days away from being Alan Moore. Just like of letting his beard grow out too long, like saying, "Oh, I'll just worship the snake god as a joke," and then getting mad at a fan writing in, and then he'll turn into Alan Moore.
We'll have to see. As time goes on. Yeah, that's been really about it, man. I just that's really the only thing I have on my kind of checklist that I would like to kind of move over, because it's nice to kind of read some comics when I have some downtime, especially when I don't have much things in terms of like furniture here, other than just this futon my girlfriend and I brought over from her place. So it's pretty comfy, and I have my TV and my console, so I'm pretty happy with that right now. I'm actually in the process of hoping to get a kind of like a coffee table, kind of this kind of sit down dinner table, like the Japanese style dinner table, coming in pretty soon. So that would be kind of nice for us to have a nice sit down and have an actual table to sit in, and also get things situated with maybe a desktop table for sure. I like to sit down for sure on my laptop and surf the web, and also definitely want to get back into the streaming side of things. I actually want to get a green screen set up and kind of do a little bit more than what I wasn't able really to do at my previous place, because I was pretty confined to my bedroom. Other than that, I really couldn't move out anywhere else without a bunch of noise going on in the background as I was doing either a podcast or streaming. So it really wasn't the best situation to kind of go through that process in terms of streaming and all that, all the quality.
I know you have that darn cat walking around somewhere to distract you from getting your job done, just to make sure that he gets the attention he deserves. I completely understand, because pets got egos and they need to be satiated.
Yeah, I mean, the cat's really the stray cat we brought in. She's really pretty chill. She doesn't really make too much noise. She likes to cuddle like any other cat would like to. So she didn't really bother me as much. The other puppy we have, it's a bit more crazy. He's always it's full of energy, always running around, always biting you. So he still hasn't gotten out of that biting phase. I think we've had him for at least over a couple months. I don't know what we're gonna do about that.
You know what I did with my dog? He would, whenever we'd get really into playing around, and he would, get aggressive, and because he's a shelter male dog with some lab blood in him, he would try to, I don't know, like mockingly bite my arm, and and so I would let him try to bite that as much as he could, and he just he slowly started to recede it back, like, nah, this isn't fun. He's not in pain anymore, so I can't really enjoy this anymore, so I'll just stop biting. So maybe that's what you need to do, just like embrace the biting.
I kind of actually Yeah, there's been occasions where I actually did embrace the biting. I just kind of let him bite me, and then after like a couple bites, he would stop actually. And so like if I didn't move my arm when he would normally would bite me, he would if I didn't move it, he would just stop after a couple bites. And they don't even hurt, but they are getting to that point because his teeth are still growing out. So it's gonna get to that point where blood may be shed, or there may be some puncture holes in my arm that.
Red sun rises.
Yeah,
blood has been spilled this night.
It's nuts, but I mean, I'm not living. That's that kind of a thing my family has to deal with now. But he's a lovable dog. I love him. He's crazy. I mean, he's hard to even get a haircut too. He's always moving around. Doesn't stand still.
Oh yeah, has he developed a innate fear of the vet yet? Where he knows where he's going as soon as you pull in front of the veterinarian's office, because he's like, this is the place where I get shots. I am not getting out of here.
Not necessarily. Not like the first 2 times. He was pretty relaxed. He's like always. He's kind of getting distracted all the time with other dogs, so he likes kind of playing with them and barking at them. So he was pretty relaxed when he got his shots. So he's got all the shots now, so he won't have to go back to at least for a couple more months or for his first shots as a young pup. Well, he's not even. He doesn't even look like a puppy anymore. He's gotten so big.
They get to that point where their limbs are still growing, so they look a little awkward. Like the tail kind of flops around. They try to run, and a lot of times they'll trip over themselves. But it's good to see that determination in their tween years.
Yeah, I'll actually send you a photo just see what he looks like. Because he got his hair cut, and he looks like he lost a lot of weight, but it's just all that hair that made him look more fluffier. So he was like he's very cute now with all his hair cut now. Yeah, it's definitely nice to tip a little bit extra for the people who had to deal with that, because I understand. Because I don't know, I don't have the patience for that, because he just doesn't sit still. Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of fair compensation for work, I think it would also be prevalent to talk about the Performance Matters strike that's going on with the voice actors.
Absolutely. I was going to actually bring that up to you as we got into the process of getting our feet settled in with the podcast and everything. So I think it's a better time than ever to talk about that for a little bit. It's I never thought I'd see it, but also at the same time, I would have thought it didn't. I was surprised it never happened sooner, because I remember the first inklings of this kind of thing happening a while back, especially with the voice actor for Nico Bellic at GTA 4. I remember a while back with the article saying he didn't really get too much compensation in terms of his performance.
16-month job to go to, and he didn't feel he was fairly compensated for it.
Especially with just recording so much lines, I could definitely understand.
Did he do motion capture as well?
I'm not sure if he did, but I mean, I know that especially depending on the game or how really dedicated the team is, they definitely do have the voice actors do motion capture. For the Last of Us, for example, that's definitely one example there. And I don't even know if they even get compensated for that either. But I don't know if it's the same set price as doing a voice. It just seems like a whole lot of dedication for. I think for not a whole lot of compensation, especially with because the voice actors definitely make the game as well. As much as we like to praise developers in terms of how they structure the gameplay, I mean, it has to be the performances as well. It's kind of like it's like a big orchestra in order to get really everything perfectly put together to make this just a special, make a game so special. There's a lot of moving parts that they have to really. The publisher should consider too. So, the
developers are the orchestra, and EA is the tone-deaf conductor.
That sounds about right. Although EA, we haven't heard too much about EA, so Konami may be the new EA, maybe even worse.
Oh man, okay, like EA, they keep there's these like new. Every time I think, wow, this studio is the absolute worst. There's no way they could possibly make it any worse. In the AAA space as well. because these aren't just like little companies that are struggling to get by, like Team Bondi for LA Noire, who had kind of unreasonable hours. I still think it's absolutely deplorable, and there's no excuse for it. But I can understand why they overworked their employees. Although I don't condone it at all, not at all. I can't understand for these huge megalithic companies to do such absolutely downright terrible practices. And with Konami, they every day is Christmas with the news press releases that they give out, like the cut content in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, and people discovering new chapters and hints that there was actually a lot more that was supposed to go in there, but Konami, for whatever reason, decided to pull the plug and just ship it as is. And it is it kind of shows in kind of ancillary ways, but still ways that make you go, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense,
right?
And oh yeah, just like every day there's like something new about like Silent Hills, or like how awesome it was going to be with like different new people on staff. Like, oh, that would have been perfect, like Norman Reedus, Hideo Kojima, Guillermo del Toro. And they actually got a famed manga artist who draws horror, and they would have used him as well. And like people were like, "Oh, that would have been cool," but it's like, nah, we can't have him. And so with Konami, it's pretty much just like it's terrible. Oh, and then they tried to do the recent thing, which was their new soccer game for the Steam. They just released their new soccer game, and for the Steam release, they had on their Steam page the Xbox One PS4 equivalent for PC and how the graphics would look, and then sold the PS3 360 port, which is it's lying at best, and then downright class action lawsuit at worst, because that's like, okay, these are not the assets you advertised, and they are able to hide away the reviews because they have the game being sold as a bundle, even though there's nothing in the bundle except the game, in order to hide away reviews. And then it's just really, really crappy of them as publishers, and everybody's just kind of is on the hype train of throwing their shade on Konami.
Yeah, it's insane. Very insane. So, what's your take on the whole possibility of this whole voice actor strike that's going on right now?
Back to the thing that I didn't mean to divert from with my entire tangent.
No, that's all right.
It is. I think it's time. There's a lot of there are some concerns I have with the idea of star power overriding a lot of Hollywood talent in Hollywood right now, in terms of how they dictate the productions, how movies are sold based on them, and that meaning that they're now catered to and now are the kind of center production. I'm worried about that for video games if that becomes the case, but I think there's more positives to be won out of this than negatives, especially since they work very long. These voice actors work very long hours. A lot of times they're not compensated or taught in terms of motion capture performance. They don't have, their hours are not really mitigated the same way as TV or film actors in terms of how long they can work. So they can be pushed into it, and a lot of times they kind of have to be grateful for the work they have and nothing else, because Nolan North and Troy Baker, Tara Strong, Jennifer Hale, those are all talented people, but they're always the go-to guys because they have kind of the standard rate of payment for these productions, and these are the go-to guys for the studios who know that they can deliver a solid voice acting job, and that's all a lot of the publishers anyway. That's all they care about. They don't care about the artistic quality of that. At the end of the day, they're bean counters, and they say, if you can get someone to say the line, that's fine. And I for one am on the side of the performance matters people, because now a lot of the games are being, or at least have a beneficial addition to having great have a really big benefit in terms of great acting, like the Far Cry 3 with Voss, or Gunnar Wright as Isaac Clarke in Dead Space 2 and 3. Like David Hayter as Solid Snake. These are Jennifer Hale as Fem Shep. I mean, these are people who, I mean, everyone was up in arms with Hitman Absolution, because originally they weren't going to hire the original voice actor, and so they were going to go with Ethan, the guy who played Ethan from Lost. And it was, I'm not saying that it was right for them to do, but the fact that they showed their support for the original voice actor does demonstrate that these performances do matter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly, for that example itself, was definitely the most prominent thing to have occurred, that, voice acting does really matter. And I think I don't know if we've gotten to that point yet, but we're getting very close. I think we're to the point where voice acting in video games is not a step down from like movies or TV, just like TVs was a step down from movies. We're kind of getting to that point now where gaming voiceovers is becoming more prominent and a more feasible means of income, especially for good actors that are out there that doesn't necessarily get the screen time that they may probably would normally wouldn't get in terms of they could probably get more work on in doing games. So you're seeing that bridge starting to build.
Yeah,
and I think we're getting closer to that, where I think voice actors in video games are becoming more of an important figure to what can make or break a game. And it's also the same for like TV too, like like cartoons and things like that. So I mean, it's definitely not something that's going to be underlooked for a while. It's definitely going to be quite important. So I hope things get better and they get better compensation for sure. It's definitely. Yeah. I don't see why not. I mean,
I think that it took a while for the studios for film studios to recognize actors as an integral part of the role. When the big five studios were made before the big crash of the 60s, they it was really controlled and really hampered down, and they had their studio favorites to make films, and there wasn't really any. I mean, if you kind of were grateful for the roles that you got, and because the video game industry had to grow up very, very fast in the shadow of a lot of these other industries, as well as being of the internet age, being constantly compared to film and TV shows. They had to, make the writing good, understand what really works for the artifice of the medium, really understand like what makes good presentation, what is taboo subjects that we can address and what isn't. Although nowadays we can pretty much address anything without much care, because people are just like, what the hell? Fuck it. We made a Bryan Cranston a drug dealer and tried to make him sympathetic. So I mean, who are we to say what's taboo or not? So it's it's definitely getting better for voice actors in terms of recognition, but I don't think the studios have seen that yet. Where a lot of these voice actors, I mean, absolutely, they make a game like Sleeping Dogs. How up in arms would people be if there's like all these Chinese characters and then 75% of them are being played by white guys? It's like you can't do that anymore. It's like, listen, people really want authenticity, and that's why people were mad that Mad Max was like, okay, there's hardly any Australian accents in here. Max isn't even Australian, which is even stranger. It's like, I don't think you've actually seen a Mad Max movie. I think you watched like the Beyond Thunderdome trailer, and then that's it. And it's getting very noticeable now how voice acting is integral to roles with characters that people love. Like, for instance, Joel from The Last of Us and his voice actor Troy Baker, God, that was a fantastic performance. That was like incredible. And even actors who I didn't really think about as incredible roles, like the actors who played Cortana and Master Chief in Halo 4, they gave an excellent performance. And that's something you really need to give credit to, especially since these people spend so much time behind the recording booth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, games like, especially Mass Effect, wouldn't have been as much of a success if the voice acting wasn't as much top notch as it could have been. It just really goes to show you how important that role is. As much as people like to say it seems like an easy thing, it's not. It really isn't.
No.
I wish I could be a voice actor. That'd be nice.
That would be very, very nice. I think I would be like
I'd make an appearance in The Witcher 3 with my terrible Witcher 3 accent there. Oi, Witcher!
Plowing a good time. It's like, I'm gonna kill you too because you're so freaking annoying. All right, Witcher. It's not even an like a dialogue option of like agree to take the quest, go away, or like uses I can't remember, like not Ard, not Igni, the one where he confuse people and like he can open up dialogue options like, oh, it's the force mind trick,
right?
And instead it just like, nah, I'm just gonna kill you. There's no choice. And it's like and the whole land rejoiced. Yay!
So yeah, definitely for the folks out there wanting to get compensated more for voice actors. So we can't really go against that because there really is no too much debate on it. I mean, I don't even know if they're asking too much. I mean, I think at least a bonus for a certain milestone reaching in sales would be nice. Just throw them a little bonus. Come on.
It's like David Hayter has played like Snake 7 different times in like different varying gradients of gravelly voice. He deserves at least some props.
Well, that's sort of true. I don't know.
Ooh, okay. Do you like David Hayter? I gotta admit, I wasn't a big fan of his Peace Walker voice.
Honestly, I don't have anything against David Hayter. I just not the biggest fan of Snake voice really to begin with. I got to see how it is.
I can see that. Yeah,
I can see how it is nostalgic, or it rings to people's ears in terms of recognition. I mean, I'm the same way. I mean, I'd feel salty too if the David Bateson got replaced for Hitman, for a new Hitman game, which did happen, but fans rejoiced, and he ended up getting pulled back in to do the dialogue for the character again. It's just because he made the character. He pretty much is that character, just like Kevin Conroy is to Batman. I mean, there's really no competition.
Oh my god, I feel so sorry for every single like Bruce Greenwood, who's done a couple of jobs as Batman. Like, I feel so sorry for him just because he's like constantly being compared to Kevin Conroy, and also like whoever takes up the Joker voice, because like every single time it's gonna be like, okay, it's either gonna be Mark Hamill or people aren't gonna love it, and then if I do Mark Hamill, people are gonna say I'm just copying Mark Hamill.
It's either Joe DiMaggio does his own kind of Joker, which ain't too bad. I didn't mind it.
Oh, which one was that on?
Well, he's the voice of Bender from Futurama, so he's done a few.
Oh no, I know he's Marcus Phoenix and Bender, and
yeah, he's done a few voices as Joker. I'm trying to remember what was
it Under the Red Hood?
It may have been that, or it may have been the newer.
Because that was a good one.
May have been the newer, later animated series episodes, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. I mean, it could be wrong. I have to look into his profile, but I know that there's been some releases of him as the Joker. I'm looking it up now to quench my curiosity here. So I definitely am. We're definitely for this. So I'm not against it for sure.
Just depends on what they are thinking about of compensation. Like maybe a raise for, in terms of how long the production goes on. Of course, getting compensated for motion capture work and having a motion capture artist teach them how to correctly motion capture. Of course, but really just depends on what they want.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and move on to another subject here. So what did you wanted to get into on this fine episode, CH? You want to get into some more Metal Gear Solid? Talk a little bit more about that,
I would absolutely love to talk about that.
I definitely like to talk about Mario Maker, but I haven't played enough of it. I did buy it yesterday.
Ooh,
I played
nice.
I played a little bit of it. It seems like I have a lot of fun with it. From what I've gathered and from what I've heard, it's kind of one of those games where it doesn't give you everything at once in the beginning. You kind of just pretty much just making your own levels, and just as you progress and making kind of more and more levels and playing them, you start unlocking newer features that you can implement onto the level, like more like either more enemy types or just different kind of landscapes and different platforms to make. So I'm really kind of in the early process in the beginning to really begin doing anything really cool. Or but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, endless Mario. I'm cool with that. You know, play all
I've
kinds
heard
of
that.
levels.
I heard that some of the Mario levels make Dark Souls look like a walk in the park.
I haven't got to that point. I'm still trying to figure out. It's definitely. I don't know if it's always. I think it's always been the case for Mario games. I never could get a really good grasp at the controls for Mario. He always seemed like he's wasn't
He's a
always
little floaty.
He was a little floaty, and especially it was definitely important to get him to go where you needed to go in the right place, especially for like platforms that had very big gaps in between, so you had to hop from one small block to the other without falling. That was the toughest part, because he would do like a quick slide, and then he would actually end up falling that way, like a quick electric slide.
That son of a gun greased up the bottom of his shoes. Like they don't stop. They just he keeps sliding like an ice skating star.
I'm gonna have to get used to the Wii U gamepad, because it's definitely. It's definitely a bit more wider. I'm still trying to figure out whether I should stick with the D-pad or the stick. So it's going to be one I'm going to have to be more experimentative with to figure out. I'm also looking forward to Yoshi's Woolly World coming out in October.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to play that.
That looks so freaking adorable.
It's just like everything I wanted out of a spiritual successor for Yoshi's Island. That's what it is. What I'm really looking forward to, and I love just the presentation. It's really really gorgeous. I got me a Yoshi.
I think 90% of the people who are interested in that game are just because of that presentation.
It really did. It really did sell me on the game, and I hope it's as good as Yoshi's Island. And I really just would like a nice, good platformer.
Oh yeah,
that harkens back to Yoshi's Island. I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be overly difficult or overly innovative to me. Actually, just it'd be more nostalgic for me to play it. And I got me a Yoshi Wally World amiibo from Japan, which is pretty nice.
Very, very nice. I am very jealous of you. Were they giving what options did they have in terms of amiibos? Was there different colored Yoshis, or was it just all one type of Yoshi, or different Nintendo characters?
I think they have three different colored Yoshis. They're the green, blue, and pink Yoshi. But they're done. The amiibos are done in the design of the game. It's made out of it looked like they're made out of yarn or whatever or material you would call that presentation they're going for. So it's not really like the traditional kind of amiibos you normally see with Nintendo. It's not like doesn't look like more like a chess piece, or it doesn't look like a chess piece or plastic or anything like that. And it has the little chip on the bottom there. Yeah. It's very different than the other amiibos they've put out. So I kind of like that. And a lot of what I've seen in terms of amiibos over in Japan have not even been released here in the States yet. I know that they're gonna put out those Yoshi amiibos pretty soon when the game comes out. So I kind of got my first inkling at getting that pretty early, but I just kind of have it in the plastic. I don't really want to take it out.
Yeah, it's hard to enjoy your amiibo when you just kind of want to just look at it and see it, because there is a lot of love and dedication going on to some of those amiibos that you got.
Yeah, I just kind of pretty much want to kind of keep it as a memento and kind of more of a little
shrine
display thing. Yeah, I kind of
sacrifice.
I kind of like that.
Sacrifice the gold. Sacrifice a calf to it.
Yeah, because if I take it out, and it's gonna gather dust, and it just won't look as good as it did. It's really hard to get dust, especially off of that kind of material, that kind of yarn Yarnish material they got going there for that amiibo. So I'd rather not deal with it. I'd rather just have the plastic case get dusty and just kind of deal with that. So it really looks nice. I really like it. So definitely looking forward to that. Metal Gear Solid 5 CH.
Oh my. Okay, and I want to get into this. Just one more thing I forgot to mention.
Sure.
Microsoft has said that they're closing down the Xbox Indie Arcade, which is, pretty big, since that was a part of the original Xbox 360, and people were there are a lot of crap games on there, but a lot of interesting ones as well, like Pixel or the lacrosse games that they had on there.
Mount Your Friends was a good one.
Mount Your Friends. How can I forget this? The game classic, Mount Your Friends, where you and a bunch of your buff friends stack on top of each other in nothing but tiny thongs, with your swinging members.
It was like one of the most simple games, but also one of the most kind of fun and dumb games. But it wasn't a terrible game like the other indie games you see, like the 10,000 like Minecraft clones. It was actually it was actually a pretty decent a simple game, and I really liked it. I mean, it got a lot of leg room, and then ended up being on Steam too. So it definitely got some more popularity. You have more customization options for sure in Steam. You can put your picture, like a picture of your face on those little characters. So it makes it even more fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's just simple. I liked it.
That's a dream of mine.
That was my favorite thing out of the whole indie. Xbox Indie. Other than that, I never looked in there because it's just either like 10,000 Minecraft clones or just like some weird dating simulator thing. Oh, what the hell that was about?
It's like Her Story if it was made terribly and still much more creepy. There's also like South Korean or Japanese developed games, because like there would be no translation for kanji symbols for some indie games, and it would just be in Japanese. Like, I don't know what this is, and I'm really worried. And there was actually a surprisingly good number of games on there. There was a Vintage Hero, which
that was fun.
That was a Mega Man game that I always wanted to get, and I was fortunate enough to contact the developers and say, and fortunately they were able to say hi back, and that they were glad we played the game and enjoyed some of the more fun shenanigans and high praise. Cthulhu Saves the World, Breath of Death 7, which is a parody on the Final Fantasy games. I made a game with zombies in it, which has a good number. That's like better than a lot of arcade games that they had, and it was for a good, a lot cheaper too. I like the fact that this is okay. I don't want to get on a Steam rant, but I'm going to do it anyway because this is my show.
All right.
No, I'm joking, Alan. This is Splinter. This is
just kidding.
Alan is my valet driver. He was handing me a glass of ice water, and I said no, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Alan, go away. I'm talking to Splinter. And it, for Steam, it's just the Wild West with Project Greenlight, with all the games that just are just pooped out, with no regard to quality control at all, because you can just, and it doesn't get attention. Okay, let me try to start over again. It, a lot of people buy these asset packs, do the asset flip of just take these games and then do the bare minimum to disguise it as your own game, and then try to sell it for a profit. And then these obviously terrible games or shoddy made games don't get the attention they deserve because there's so many darn games on Steam, and the moderators can't go check them out because they got so much to do, and they need a big public push to see them. So that means a lot of people get away with a lot of dastardly things. And in this case, the indie market, it wasn't perfect. There was a lot of Minecraft clones and whatnot, but at least they had to start from scratch and actually develop it into a clone. Ironically, it's more work to be a clone on the indie scene in Xbox, and it also went through an approval process, which is something that is not on Steam. And it's the Wild West on with Greenlight, and I feel like with the indie market, that's what I want to see more of. Where very basic toolkits for starting out developers who want to do something, and there's going to be a lot of crap and probably a lot of fun, enjoyable crap that you can drink a beer with a couple of buddies and make fun of too. But it was the right direction.
Yeah, it seems that it's become a little bit more like the new Xbox indie arcade with Steam. I haven't checked out Steam in a while because I don't know. I don't really play much games on my PC that much anymore. I don't really feel compelled to. Like, I like that it's there. It's especially the Greenlight can definitely get a lot of games over, especially with the promise with a recent development project in the works from someone kind of making a spiritual successor to PT, and
oh yeah.
That looks like it's got a lot of potential. So it's definitely worth backing up, and for it being on the indie scene, Greenlight for Steam, and also games like Deadly Premonition and D4,
yeah.
like them being able to petition it to be on there, and then to have a PC version of those games. That's great because like not a lot of people could have really played Deadly Premonition on the 360 when it came out, because that's really like the definitive best version of the game you can play, because the PC version is a little janky, to be honest with you. I played it, and I didn't play much of it because I played the game so much I didn't really want to go through the whole thing, but maybe I will one day. But there were some improvements, I will say. It's more like the barrier of entry is a little rough, because you gotta do a lot of you gotta do a lot of customization to get the settings just right to kind of make the game run smoothly. Beyond that, I would say 360 version is really the way to go for Deadly Premonition.
It's odd. It's like with the PS3 edition and the PC port, it's like every succinct release somehow gets more cumbersome with the game, because it's a cumbersome game to start with, and they can't really change anything, so they try to make it look nicer. And that's pretty much all you can get from Deadly Premonition, because that is just one game where the barrier, as you were saying, the barrier for entry is pretty high on the PC port to get it all the system settings right, and it's already high because the game is not intuitively designed. It's like every step along the way it's challenging you, just like, yeah, you try to play this game, and then once you beat it, it's like, I love this game. Yeah, and it's like, damn right you do.
Definitely one of those games where the controls sometimes worked against you a good chunk of the time, but god damn it, man, that story and that voice acting and just the ambition of that game really got me through to finish it. That's what really made that game a special one for me. That's definitely one of my favorite games of the generation to have come out. I mean, I would sit here and debate that with anyone. That's definitely one of the greater games that wasn't on the highest of budgets, and wasn't the most intuitively designed, but it was still one of the most remarkable and influential games I've ever played, for sure.
The Raincoat Killer, man. That was just that. I mean, it is. I think it's very we compare it to David Lynch, and I do wonder this. Do you think it's because Swery was Japanese and he was trying to translate a game into English and trying to get the nuances right, but then it came out very differently, and because of that, it has this weird flair for the dramatic and the fantastical. No. What am I saying? This guy did D4. Of course, like, it's the same. I was thinking like maybe it was a one-time occurrence, but it's just like, this guy's nuts, and the world would be poor for his absence.
Yeah. He's definitely much like Kojima. He's very influenced by like American media, American culture, like movies and TV shows. I know Kojima's very
dude. I so want another I want another D4 episode.
I feel you, man. I haven't played it, but I wanted to play it on my PC. I just couldn't get it to run. I couldn't run the demo, so I didn't really bother. Unless it's really cheap, I may buy it and just to see what the hell happens, to see if I can run it. But the demo I couldn't run at all. unfortunately.
It is like
I really wanna
I
play it.
assume this is what taking Molly for the first time is. Where you just like your brain is opened and you're scared, but you're so happy and elated because you're free, and it is wonderful. And then you realize you've been crying in a corner for the last half hour, and then you snap out of it and going, "Oh my god, I should never play this game again because I can't get through it again." And then then you go about your day, and then you hear this little voice calling to you, "CH." No, I'm ignoring you. CH. You know you want to play this game. No, I don't. You're not going to abuse me again. And then you don't even have that just moment of decision. You're just sitting down playing it, and then you think to yourself, "How did I get on the couch?" That's what the game's like.
I kind of had that
10 out of
experience.
10.
I kind of had that experience minus the crying over the weekend. I went to a music festival, and let's say I had some happy brownies, so it was certainly interesting. That was certainly an interesting
For the NSA
experience.
listening in, he's joking.
That was an interesting experience. Very, very interesting.
Mind opening.
It was just like how you described it. That's how I felt that day, minus the crying. But
well, then you're missing out. You got to do it again. Go to another concert. Do exactly the same. And then when you reach the crying, that's the trifecta. You're happy, sad, and crying, and you don't know which one is why you're crying.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to give it a while before I can go back again. I went for 3 days straight, and I also worked on Sunday too. So I worked on Sunday, and I was awake since like 5 a.m. But I went to the festival and like got home to like almost midnight. It was a lot of fun, but yeah, it definitely took a toll out of me. Just going for 3 days straight, and almost like a good chunk of the day spent at that festival with a bunch of people and a bunch of
like-minded individuals.
That's a little bit too kind to say, but just just crazy festival things going on there. Drinking out of water faucets and stuff, and that reminded me of that video.
Oh yeah,
sipping out of cups. Barnes.
Who's this? Mr. Balloon Hands.
Mr. Balloon Hands. I don't know what the hell that video was about. That was weird.
I actually think it's a guy who originally took LSD, and
Barnes.
then somebody just recorded him saying this stuff, and then made an animated video, which is just great.
Of a gecko for some reason.
No way. No way. Not now, not ever.
Yeah. What the hell are we talking about? Oh,
Deadly Premonition.
Deadly Premonition. Yeah, for sure, man. It's definitely one of the games of the generation. I mean, I put that on top of there. The game of the generation like that. I put that with
unironically.
With that and Red Dead. Definitely the games of the generation.
And that is certainly Deadly Premonition is certainly a case of clear examples of why we need to give voice actors more money, because the guy who voices Francis York Morgan is, I'm not going to say he's better than Marlon Brando, but I will imply it by starting that sentence how I started it. He's better than Marlon Brando.
He was really great. He was like, from beginning to end, he didn't miss a beat with his voice acting performance, and I loved every bit of his performance, and also the dialogue really made it as well. So it's like I said, it's just a culmination of many things that make the game work. The writing and the voice acting were top notch, and I thought everybody else was pretty good. I mean, there were some characters that weren't the best performances out there, but I feel like it was intended also in some points, but I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to tell. But Keith was cool. I never forget Keith.
Keith was cool. The woman with the pot, which I think was the satirization or borrowing the archetype of the woman with the log from Twin Peaks, who sadly died a few days ago.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's too bad. But hey, I mean,
and another film in the Twin Peaks revival too is actually happening now with David Lynch.
Yeah, well, he was originally going to be on it, wasn't he? And then he left, and then he came back on.
Yeah.
Because Showtime was like, wait a minute, we need the guy who's, this is so insane, only David Lynch could do it. Damn it. We can't fire him, we can't underpay him. Just bring him back on.
So I'd pay anything to have him back on. I mean, he's without him, I don't know how you. It's like Kojima with Metal Gear. You can't really have Twin Peaks without David Lynch.
And regardless of how a Metal Gear game turns out, a Swery 65 game turns out, or a David Lynch film turns out, they are all able to consistently have the same. You take them seriously within their own within their own worlds, because they take the tone consistently. It's not like punctuations of, a little sprinkle of weirdness. Like with Metal Gear, it's like there's weirdness, but it's interwoven perfectly with the drama. So when the drama happens, it's not in contrast to the weirdness, but working with it.
Yeah, I feel like it has its own kind of style and genre it's trying to kind of portray, especially just to kind of not have the game feel utterly to have the same tone. I also feel like, especially with Deadly Premonition, a lot of those weird moments had some sort of bearing, or it had some sort of reason as to why they occurred. They weren't just kind of there for the point, for just being weird. I think that they all had a point for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't talk enough praises about Deadly Premonition. I already feel like playing I already feel like playing the game again. That's just how much I love it.
It's like, there's new games that tout new abilities, like, oh, you can see your beard grow over time, or oh, if you don't wash your clothes, you'll start to stink. But Deadly Premonition did it first, and they did it best.
Yeah, it did. That would, Witcher 3 did that, and then Metal Gear Solid did the whole stinky thing when you don't shower.
And Francis York Morgan is like, they're really behind on the times, aren't they, Zach?
Yeah, that game was really ahead of its time when it came out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, Metal Gear Solid 5. I actually got.
Oh yeah.
Since the last time we spoke, I did get more hours into the game. I'm not. I think I'm on like mission like 25. I think I'm not even really that far. I just got to the point where I unlock FOBs, so I'm able to do FOBs now. Like I feel like I didn't think I was gonna. I couldn't figure out how I was gonna proceed because I was like maxed out of like my staff. Like I couldn't fill any more slots. And then like when the FOBs got introduced, I got more space. So it's like, thank God. Shit was getting crazy. People kept asking me on Mother Base, "What are you gonna get? What are you gonna upgrade the place?" So stop asking me. I know it's overcrowded. I don't know what to do. I feel like this is The Sims.
There's 3 to a bunk.
I feel like I'm playing The Sims.
Someone keeps deleting the door.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Yeah, it certainly feels like you're trapped on the base, and I don't know if you've gotten this cutscene of there's an impromptu fight that breaks out on the base.
No, I haven't gotten that. I think that was in the trailer, right?
Yeah. You trust me, you'll get it eventually in one form or another. But
okay.
Yeah, it's definitely like. And it's not just ancillary, like, oh yeah, we need more space. Like, yeah, we need more space. And if you don't send us out on missions, we'll probably get a little stir crazy and hurt each other, and then we'll be sent off to sick bay. And then then it'll take time for that. And, like, everything is a gameplay element, what I really like about it. Whereas everything, this is like the best playing Metal Gear Solid game, but it is kind of all over the place in terms of the narrative structure.
Yeah, it's a tough game to nail down because there's so much many moving parts, and a lot of it can maybe push you away a little bit, but also a lot of things can really pull you in. It's kind of really one of the rare games that I've played that I'm still consistently enjoying, and there's not really much in the realm of story. There's like sprinkles here and there, but I feel like I'm not getting anywhere in terms of like figuring out what's going on in the story. Really, I just kind of really been I've really been making my own stories in terms of like the things that I do and that goes on in my gameplay for the most part. I feel like the game has changed a lot since I've first started to now Unlocking Quiet. I feel like a lot of things are more easier, and a lot of things are more. I feel like I have to more experiment some more and not really rely on Quiet too much. But even though it does really help sometimes to do that, to use her, their sniping abilities for sure. And
yeah, she's a great buddy.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I I'm probably just I'm doing side quests and also main missions that I'm kind of focusing on again. I haven't been doing it since the early stages of playing the game, but I'm in the process of gathering more people for my my combat or support unit for the FOBs. So that's kind of been what I've been doing since the FOBs have been unlocked for me, and I have more space now to allocate more crew members. That's weird that cutscene happens. I don't know if it's something that gets triggered for something you do or don't do. It's hard to tell with that game because I unlocked a certain section in there in the medical bay, and then I haven't really nothing's really happened ever since then. I've read things that you have to go back after you rescue certain members of the previous team on the mother base, but even doing that, I'm still not even able to unlock that section. Like I've only been able to do it once. I don't know what the hell's going on. I feel like I have to keep. I haven't really been going back anymore to see if I can go in there because nothing's been happening.
That's one of my big detracting, maybe like the biggest gameplay related thing, because when you go back to Mother Base, there's not a lot to do. You can do target practice, you can find diamonds, and you can also do maybe one or two story related missions or side missions. But besides that, there's not a whole lot to do when you're back at base. It feels very empty, and you can't really do it. And like every time you try to go back, like, oh yeah, like all I can do is really take a shower, get my stamina and health back up to par, and then head on out to another mission, which takes way too long because then you gotta order down. It's weird because like when you're out in the field, you can quickly teleport back to the helicopter, but when you're on Mother Base, you gotta wait for the helicopter to come back after you order it. So that's kind of a waste of time, and it feels like such a long game. I think also because of the narrative feels very not stretched out in terms of content, but like stretched out in terms of placement. And it's like, oh, we need to do this thing, boss. You need to go get this character, and then you learn through the cassette tapes, and you learn through some of the cutscenes, and the single no cut, no edits cutscenes are they're nice, but they also elongate the scene for a little bit longer than it would be if it was just like a regular like shot, reverse shot, establishing shot, point of view shot.
Right.
They gotta set up the camera go from Snake wandering into base, and then the camera goes from behind him up some stairs, some people are talking, and then it has to have a two shot, so it's got to pull out. So they got to kind of wait there for a little while. Somebody goes down the stairs, but the other guy's on top of the stairs. So it's like, okay, now you got to establish where they are spatially, and then that cuts. It feels like with even the older stuff like Guns of the Patriots, Snake Eater, Peace Walker. All the other Metal Gear Solid games, they're slower, but they also feel much more heightened because you just have little gameplay chunks of like, okay, here's a bunch of soldiers in an equipment room. We go around them and steal this thing. Where this one, it feels like it's an open world, and you kind of got to make your way, and you got to understand the terrain, and you got to take it slow and easy. You can't really rush through these guys because if you do, they'll spot you and set off the alarm. You can't really get rid of the alarm, and it feels like a slower game, but that's deliberate. And right. It also feels like the big theme of Phantom Pains is really in full force in this game, to the point where there's some cut content involving the quote-unquote third act, as well as some other stuff that didn't make it into the game. And it feels like there's lots of it still leading up to it, and it does. And I don't know if that is just like Hideo Kojima tying into the themes, or if it's genuinely cut content and they couldn't put it in. So it's so hard to decipher which one is what the intentions are. I would love to get like a journal of the Konami production of the Kojima, not Konami. They didn't do shit on this one. For the Kojima production team. And them going over what their intentions were for the gameplay, for the narrative, for the characters, and if there's some things which could be very rectified and clear once the artist explains, but then away that takes away some magic too. So I would rather Kojima kind of just tell us, because for this case it really would make things a whole lot clearer if there's a lot of things that are his intention or not, in terms of exposing us to Phantom Pain.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Even all things aside, even though that the game is definitely a departure from how the storytelling structure is, it's still a really good game. I mean, there's a lot of interesting and weird decision making that went into how you kind of get around into starting missions and stuff, especially with every mission being more like presented in a kind of episodic kind of presentation. I think it seems like Kojima really stuck it to Konami with putting his name in almost everything in every episode, showing like a nice little title card sequence as you begin. I mean, those are kind of small. Those are little things that I've seen that didn't really take me out too much. It didn't make it a little bit more cinematic or more episodic, if you like to call it that. It's tough. It's tough to pinpoint it. Like, I'm still really enjoying the game, but also I feel like there's not much else going on that I'm really that invested in. But I like the gameplay. That's the thing. Like, the gameplay really grips me, and I want to keep doing it more. It feels like this feels like more like a more AAA mobile game. This seems more like a mobile game. This is like Peace Walker, like done in a AAA budget and also on a console. It feels like a mobile game on a console in a sense, especially because it just feels that way. Like, not to say that you have to pay money to do certain things. Well, there are options to do it, but it just especially with the in-game time things. I hate
Konami
that
with the microtransactions. It's kind of doublethink, because they make you think, oh, you don't need these to succeed. But then these extra bases immediately, once they're built, immediately help you with development and getting GMP, and with finding better soldiers. Like, of course, like you've clearly designed the microtransactions to help you win the game. It's not a case of like, oh, these are ancillary things, for, I don't know, like a costume or something like that. Like, no, that's not what you're doing here. What you're doing is tempting players to pour money into virtual systems to win.
Yeah, that is very true. I will give you that. I definitely noticed that in the in the unlocking of the FOBs, when you have to do the inter microtransactions that I didn't really want to bother with. Even with there's also like unnecessary time restraints too with like certain development projects. Like, you can't really speed up the process. It's just kind of there. Sometimes, like, if you want to unlock a weapon, sometimes it'll take like 15 minutes to develop. It seems like it's more redundant than it needs to be. I know that they're trying to make it more realistic to think that your team's working on developing.
There's
this
a man
project
with a rocket arm. There's no realism in here.
That's true. It is so true. I don't know the reason for it. It seems unnecessary to have to wait for unlocking something that you pretty much have the currency for and the blueprints for. It just doesn't seem weird. It seems weird for me.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. Maybe I haven't been noticing it as much. Maybe because I'm kind of used to it, so I kind of like do other things on the side. But whenever I go into Mother Base, it's usually I just kind of step away for a minute, because it just takes like at least a good 5 minutes to watch the whole. I don't know if it's a loading screen hidden in the background, but just pretty much watching Snake in the helicopter overlook the base and landing in.
No, it's not a loading screen. They dug through the files like, no, the world is actually loaded. You're just seeing Kiefer Sutherland's grizzled jaw, and then like do the 360 spin around his head, and then just him from his point of view for like 3 seconds looking at Quiet or Dee Dee, or just like the pilot's elbow, and then just get up and then open up the side of the door and then wait to come down. It's like, you knew there had to be like a more economic way of transport. Like, okay, the first couple of times, kind of cool.
It was cool. Yeah. If there was an option to skip it, that would be really good too.
And you know what I found very odd, just as a very side notish sort of thing, not really negative or positive, but just something I've noticed where this, what Metal Gear Solid 4 did with nanomachines is them being the answer to a lot of things. They kind of also do in another way. I'm not going to explain what it is until you complete the game, but it's like they kind of the longer the series goes on, the less magic there seems to be, and that's kind of unfortunate, because I always thought the game was the game series kind of had this weird, interesting combination of science fiction, reality, and fantasy in kind of these equal measures. And then as time went on, it's like, no, it's more science fiction and reality, not so much supernatural, which is kind of too bad, because those are some of my favorite parts of Snake Eater. And then the other thing, which is there's not a lot of women in this game, and that's not just like social justice warrior, like, oh, we should have more women. It's like, no, for the entries of the series, there's always been a good number of women. Like with even Metal Gear Solid 1, where you have Mei Ling, Naomi, Meryl, and then and that continues on to Metal Gear Solid 2 with Rose and Emma, and
right.
And also whoever I can't remember the Russian woman's name, but in the first game, but
Eva?
No, she was the chain smoker weapons expert in the first Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, it's been a while.
She doesn't appear in any other games. She's like mentioned in the second, and then Eva and the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3, which great characters. And then this one just kind of devoid. Even like the last one, Peace Walker, which had 4 really big characters, which was Paz, Strangelove, Cecile. I can't remember, but I think maybe the boss's AI counts, maybe. But anyway, it's and then this one, it's just quiet, and then quiet doesn't speak that much.
That's true. I mean, they do make a point on that aspect about the lack of female supporting characters. So let's say that necessarily not necessarily main characters, but definitely supporting ones. That I think about it, that's definitely have been the case for this. It's just it's definitely a certain different take and departure from the previous games, which I can't really fault Kojima on, because I guess you can only do so much of the same thing so many times. I guess you just kind of want to do something a little bit different, and I don't fault it for that. I mean, I'm all for trying something different, and most of it, most of it works and most of it doesn't. But even when it does, it doesn't really hit the nail on the head. It doesn't detract it at all from me as a main avoidance of the game. It's still a really good quality game. It's just there's some little weird and just weird decisions that were made in terms of how you get to a mission and how things are presented that are a little bit wonky for me, but it's still a pretty good game. I mean, it's probably one of the best looking games, and certainly one of the most memorable beginnings I've ever played. For sure.
Oh my god, awesome.
Hasn't really lived up to anything like that since like that opening of the game. Definitely pretty good opening.
There are 3 really big moments in this game that I would qualify among the best of maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with 4 or 5. There's 4 or 5 really big moments that I think qualify among the best of the entire series.
Yeah, I don't know if I've gotten there yet. I think I probably could name maybe 2 pretty good moments at the beginning, and then one other thing that I've saw so far. Like, I mean, like we talked about. Like, I love the presentation. The cutscenes are really well done, and they're really well done. And just I love the non no cuts into those cutscenes. It just really, I think it's really well presented, and it just adds a bit more immersion into the game. I just love the way it looks and how it's shot, and the graphics are Obviously, the pretty well done compared to the previous games. I
love the lens flare.
The lens flare are cool. I like that kind of indication when you're kind of about to get spotted with the light, especially a flashlight or like a light from a distance.
Because it has an artistic purpose. It's like either to showcase where the light is coming, or give the indication that there's enemies who are about to see you, or even like during cutscenes where the lens flare will be artistically pointing out important items or things to notice in the games. Like, oh, this is a gun. Like, look how it's about to fire, and it builds up tension because you see the lens flare going across it. Very, very good.
Yeah, I actually like how it's used more as also a gameplay feature rather than just a visual thing. That's really well done. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, there's just so much to the game that
the cassettes,
a lot of fun. The cassettes are cool. I actually stumbled upon the radio broadcast from PT in the game.
I'm still looking for that one. It's great.
Yeah, one of the early PT Easter eggs. I still want to get that decoy of Lisa from PT. I have to figure out how the hell to get it.
I'm almost. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe I thought it was like not available to this final build of the game, and that it was actually just used in a demo. But if you can, then I would love to figure that out.
Yeah, I kind of want to look into it, even though I'm not really one to really look for stuff online. But that's really one of the things that have piqued my interest. I don't know what that does, if it's supposed to scare somebody or not. I don't recall from the gameplay demos. I still want to unlock the cool the girl with the bikini box, which is kind of funny. That distract the guards from that one. Have them come to you. Hello. You lost your internet connection. Uh-oh. We have lost internet connection.
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I don't know.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
That's very strange. And anyway, yeah, it's a lot of the cool cardboard box decoys are very fun to play around with, especially with the soldiers versus cute girls and how they will react.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the game so far. I'm not really close to feel like I've finished it yet. I know I've heard from folks that there's a certain part in the game where it feels like it ended because it actually has like a title screen, but there's still kind of more to kind of continue on from that, which is kind of strange. I haven't really gotten to that point yet. I really just got started to unlock the FOBs and rescuing some African kids. I've also gotten briefed on possibly having a mission with not having to shoot kids, so that's probably going to be something interesting.
Yeah, and it's.
Well, I like some of the themes they touch upon on. It was certainly interesting. But again, I haven't really so far. I feel maybe I'm still early, but I haven't really encountered too much to really say that I've been blown away by storytelling. But there's some cool. I mean, like I said, there's some cool moments in there, and I've enjoyed getting those cooler moments, and boss fights. Some of the boss fights are kind of cool that I've encountered. They kind of happen randomly. They're not.
Did you go to the Devil's House?
The Devil's House is I believe so. Is that the one with the Human Torch chasing you, and you have to
the Human Torch.
You have to take them out with shooting down those water towers.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty cool. I got kind of lucky on my second attempt because I called the helicopter in, and then the helicopter came after like a minute or two, because sometimes it takes forever to get there. So I decided just to call it early, and then try to get the Human Torch to get close to me so I can detonate the mine so that the water can fall on them. And then I missed the water, and then he just kind of stood still, and the helicopter came swooping in on the other side. And I ran to the helicopter, and then I managed to get away. It didn't do anything in terms of damage to me. I only hit like the plane twice, and then I managed to get away. Luckily, like the first time, I called the helicopter too early, and then we just kind of got taken down like like that because he was really close to us, starting shooting fireballs at us. So it wasn't the greatest first attempt ever.
There's a bunch of those really fun impromptu battlefield stuff, and for instance, I was in a sandstorm in Afghanistan. I was carrying somebody, and I was trying to avoid detection. I was trying to be very stealthy, and then I decided, like, okay, I marked all the enemies I can in this area. I think I'm okay. So I then started going to a full sprint, and then right in front of me were two guards. I didn't have any ammo for my tranquilizer gun. I didn't want to kill anyone, so I just threw the person I had that I was carrying at them, and it knocked all of them out. Like, thank God that worked out the way I was hoping it would.
Oh yeah, I've had that too. I actually threw somebody into one person, but I never had that domino effect, Three Stooges style, throwing somebody against.
Move it, Chadheads.
That was a lot of funny. That was funny when that happened. There's a lot of cool things that you can do that you wouldn't even notice until you actually attempt it. So I didn't know you could. I didn't even know. I found out that you can hold guards up and then have them lay down on the ground, and they will stay there until like somebody finds them. Then they'll get up, but they'll just stay there and won't even move the whole time. That's like another good alternative than like knocking them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's even better actually. Unless they're not found, they'll stay there all day, lay down.
That'd just be great. Like a story of like, it's Jeremy, the idiot guard, just like, get down on the ground. Like, I'll be back. Don't you move. Okay. Like 2 days passed, and he's still on the ground. It's like, I don't think he's coming back.
And he's a skeleton.
It's like, okay, Jeremy. And he just like sees just like the skeletal remains, like still in the same position. Like, ooh, maybe I should go back soon.
I kind of had that reminiscing moment of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, where you hold up that guy who was talking about how his family was murdered by ninjas.
Yeah. Are you a ninja? Like, no, I'm not. Are you gonna kill me? Like, listen, I got a knife to your throat. Cool, killed by a ninja.
Yeah, that was a funny, quirky moment in that game.
With all the little stuff that you can do in terms, like with Snake Eater, people are still finding out really cool stuff to do 10 years later. I do wonder if that'll be the same with the Phantom Pain, with all the environmental stuff, with all the cool items you get. I do like the boss fights in this. I feel like some of them don't feel quite right because they're not individual bosses, like they're not the Cobra unit, or they're not Dead Cell or Beauty and the Beast, because they're kind of all lumped into the same group, and some of them are actual groups, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible. But
no, I understand. I like some of the boss fights leading up to maybe one that I wasn't the hugest fan of, because it just involved you really. I don't know if there's another way to do it, but there's no really other way to take them out, to further the mission, other than just like direct combat attacks. It's not really catered to stealth in some of the boss battles, especially like those.
No.
Especially those Cobra units where it's just like multiple dudes you have to take out. Like,
the skulls are just
the
terrible.
The skulls are a pain in the ass. I had to take them out with. I had to call like ammo drops ahead of time before I even prepared to get to that point where it activates the boss fight, and then I had to run to the spot where I had the ammo drop in order to refill my ammo from my rocket launcher, because that's really the only thing that does damage to them. And if I can get the hit right and hit multiple enemies, that'd be the perfect run. But it was a tough one, because they do some damage to you too, because you're like in the open space for the most part, and you don't really heal really quick. You don't really heal as quick unless you're laying down, and you really have to like get out of their line of sight. So that kind of gets hard sometimes, especially when you get shot up so many times and the health regen is not the fastest.
I didn't realize this, but you can melee. You can CQC them when they jump right at you, and that took me like 3 times of dying, and then like a 4th time of trying to say like, okay, maybe I can sneak up on them. It's like, no, you're gonna die if you do that. But if you time it just right, you can CQC the guys.
I think I noticed that indicator one time, but I couldn't hit it at the exact same time. I saw that. I didn't know how much of an effect it would do. Honestly, knowing Kojima, that probably would be like a one-hit kill, especially with how the bosses, how the previous bosses in Metal Gear Solid work, especially with like the Vulcan boss battle, where like just shooting him on direct is not gonna do anything unless you do. I forgot how to go again. Like you had to do CQC at a certain timing with Vulcan boss, the Vulcan boss fight. There's a trick.
Oh yeah,
you had to do it. You couldn't just shoot him.
You didn't have to have you were supposed to not equip a gun when he was using his electric attacks because the metal's a good conductor of electricity.
Yeah.
So he, would use that. So you have to kind of beat him up CQC, and then quickly, if you wanted to, use a gun to pop a round off in his head or trank him in the butt when he's down, and then you try, continue, rinse and repeat, and dodge his bullet attacks. And very interesting boss fight, but
yeah, they had their own kind of quirky, they had their own kind of quirky, unconventional methods of defeating those bosses. Like I feel like I'm not really getting a whole lot of that in terms of Phantom Pain. I mean, there like I mentioned, there are some cool moments, especially with early on with the Metal Gear Ray. You're shooting from the helicopter, which is a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, it's not really that.
They're not really the traditional kind
specified.
They're not really the traditional kind of Metal Gear Solid boss fights you're used to. They're more direct.
More straightforward.
They're more straightforward to kind of move the story along, to kind of keep it consistent to what's going on in the transitioning from the cutscenes to that action scene. So they're definitely more direct and not as complex as the previous ones were. And some of them are kind of a pain, especially those skulls. Oh yeah,
but when you finally take one of them down in combat, there's nothing better than just going like, yeah.
They're satisfying. It took me a while to do it. I just had to figure out a strategy to do it, but Quiet wasn't really going to do anything against them, so I just kind of pretty much did what I told you, man. I called in a bunch of like supply ammo drops at certain spots where I knew I can get at least out of their plane of sight and just like dive into the ground and heal up before they get too close to me and just start shooting them up with the rocket launchers. So that's kind of my strategy I went with. I tried to do the anti-air guns, and that worked, but they had to do it quick because they get so close to you real fast, and they'll just destroy that thing. The anti-aircraft machine guns.
It's
certainly an interesting game, CH. I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if this is going to be a game I'm going to be finishing really anytime soon. I'm just kind of like I'm just playing it here every now and then. It's not really a priority for me to beat it because I'm not that into it to really find out what the hell's going on. It just hasn't really developed in such a way. This game feels more like a game I can kind of go back to every now and then. It feels more like a mobile game than anything else, minus the transaction things. I mean, there is transactions there, but you don't have to do them. It feels more like a mobile game, but it's on a console. It just kind of feels a little bit weird. But I still enjoy it. The gameplay's fun, even though you're doing some things kind of the same again. But it's fun to do them because you definitely get better equipment, and definitely the enemy definitely advances. I like how they changed their tactics too when it comes to how you approach them and what certain things you do normally. So they'll if you do a lot of like tranquilizers, you shoot them in the head, they'll start wearing helmets and this, that, and the other. So body armor, surveillance cameras, snipers, all that stuff. And I like how you incorporate your members of your combat unit to go out and destroy their defenses that they got against you. So you can go out and send them out on missions to destroy their supply of helmets and armor and snipers and all that. That's a pretty cool element. Makes it a little bit less challenging. It makes it a little bit more easier, but it's definitely still more of a challenge when they have all the stacks against you. With snipers, helmets, and body armor, they kind of get a pain in the ass sometimes, especially if you're doing it alone.
Yeah. And what I really do love about the FOB stuff is that you start getting paranoid about people sneaking into your base while you're gone, stealing your soldiers and your resources. So it's just like this constant escalation of, okay, I need to get better weapons, and then I need to equip to my soldiers. But wait, I got to expand my bases. So in order to expand my bases, I need to get more resources. I need to go out into the field and go get more resources, so I can build more base stuff, so I can get better weapons for my crew. But I need to also get more soldiers, because more soldiers with higher stats means that I'll have better defense. And just this constant shifting cycle of like, wow, of paranoia of these other people coming, and it's not just like, you need to agree with me that we're going to be in a battle before you infiltrate the base. Like, no, you can just like have a random person try to get into your base, and that builds up this really good sense of just like wondering, like when you're out in the field, like I know somebody's probably going to be sneaking up soon. I got to finish this, then I got to go back, and then when you go back, no one's there. It's like, oh, this is a waste of time. And then like go back to the field, like, and then that's when it finally warns you, like I knew there was someone coming out.
Yeah, it's just a lot of micromanaging going on there. That's why it feels a lot more like a kind of like a mobile strategy game in a sense. Just kind of like a game within a game. Just there's so many different moving parts going on that it kind of does keeps me coming back, because there's a lot to do. You're not doing one certain thing throughout the game, because the main objectives are kind of more of a side thing to kind of continue on your journey to do, at least uncover what's kind of going on in the story. But the side quest is kind of what really is the driving force for you to keep going and keep playing the game, especially with having to upgrade your equipment and upgrading your base and the staff, security. There's so much there to do that you're not just doing one thing. You're not doing side quests for just one thing. It's just multiple things you'll end up doing. So that's what keeps me coming back, and I do enjoy it. So we'll see how it progresses as I play more. I think I'm already like 40-50 hours in, and I'm not even close anywhere to finishing it. So I guess that says something about the game. I guess it's worth the value, since I've played so much of it.
It is a game where it's still keeping in the same vein of the traditional Metal Gear games, where you have an appreciation of the environment, you study the environment to sneak around and to understand the little nooks and crannies of scouting out and making sure you know enemies' patterns. But it also includes the feeling of like, okay, it's free roam, you can approach it any way that you want, and that's very malleable to a play style, which is very, very good. And the story feels disconnected a little bit. Well, actually, kind of a lot in some cases, but for mostly, it feels it feels disjointed. But I don't know if that's like supposed to be the point, or I really want to have a spoiler cast with you to just dive into it. But the structure of the game is very different, even from Peace Walker. Well, actually, the closest thing it would be actually Peace Walker in terms of selecting main missions and side missions and deployments. And I honestly, it's just such a very, very strange game, because and that's why it's one of my favorites. I think it's a gameplay wise great. I love the presentation,
right?
And they connect it in a way which isn't as immediately impressive. Like, oh, okay, that happens. I don't see why that's important. Then it just kind of you think about it, and it's like, oh, okay, that very, very good. If you really want to know a lot of the story stuff and a lot of I love the diatribes and the monologues. They like would go on for like 25 minutes of like nuclear deterrence or Russian philosophy, like back in the turn of the 20th century. And you can do that by listening to the cassettes. And I think that's why they wanted they were trying to get the best of both worlds by having really good gameplay and then focusing on the cassettes that you can listen to. And the ones that are coded in yellow are the ones that are important to the story, and then everything else is ancillary. It's, I think it's a very, very good, it's a very, very good game. Great game, even, with some flaws. I still think Quiet's design is stupid. But that that doesn't ruin her character for me, especially with how the character arc actually goes for her. very, very interesting. I still think Witcher 3 is probably going to be my game of the year, but this is a very good contender.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough one to even looking back on what's come out this year. It's hard to keep track with, especially the whole year of what's come out. I feel like I haven't played a lot of games this year, but I feel like I've played the most kind of important and kind of really good ones that I'm really into. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I'm still too early in Metal Gear to really say really my overall thoughts on it, because I mean, I know there's still like probably a few more missions I got left, maybe like 20 or 30 more missions to go, and just all this micromanaging of other things it's just distracting me from kind of continuing on to see where the story
marker
goes.
Removed.
Oh,
Marker placed.
You have arrived at your destination.
You get, or the passive aggressive Kaz as you're folding soldiers, where it's just like,
you taking him?
Oh, you taking him? I would. But that, hey, it's your choice if you want to. I mean, you'll just be a disappointment to me. That's all I'm saying. It's like, Kaz, you shit the hell up, or I'm going to take your other leg.
No, that's pretty much it for me, man. Like I feel like I feel like I'm too early into the game to really say much, and that's crazy to say after 40 hours in. I feel like I'm still too early into the game.
It's like I've only been
just
playing
unlocked
this.
FOBs.
It's like I played this 3 years ago. I'm still not done with it. It feels like there's always something new to do, a new place to explore, a mission to do, deployments to be a part of, and I would definitely love a huge just spoiler cast of maybe us and the BGB guys just dissecting the story and trying to see how we really thought about it. But I really do love kind of wonder if they'll Metal Gear games, like with the first and second one, because the free roaming is kind of so integral that you can't really be confined to quarters. But regardless, this game is just bee's knees.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I can't wait to really play more of it when I have more time to really sink my teeth into it. As I mentioned, like I never felt this way about a game before. I mean, it's a really good game. It's just I never thought I would say that 40 hours into a game, I'm still feel like I'm still too early into it to say much. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's a long game. You're really going to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
and
I'm fine with that. I like what I've been playing so far. I haven't felt at all really bored in it. I mean, I like mixing things up. I do a lot of experiments in terms of missions to keep everything fresh, even though some of the missions are repetitive and side quests are repetitive, but I do a lot of different things to freshen it up. I always try different equipment on the missions to mix things up, so it hasn't been a huge problem for me. I still want to play more to see how this goes. I really, as much as there isn't as much story bits going on in between, maybe because I do a lot of side quests, but I feel like there's not much going on yet, but I'm very intrigued in what I've seen so far in terms of like actual story cutscenes. They've all been really wonderfully presented and interesting. So I want to know more. So while I will get into more main quests and not worry too much about expanding my equipment. If it happens, it happens. I just want to kind of see where the story progresses. I probably won't do too much side quests because I'll never finish it because I just do too much side quests to expand other things. Too much micromanaging, but that's not a bad thing.
Kiefer makes a great Snake, I gotta say.
He's been pretty good so far from what the dialogue I've heard him say, because he doesn't say too much.
He didn't say too much, no.
But he's definitely much like the developer video for the game that came out a while back. He definitely does put a really good performance, especially with like not saying a whole lot. He says a lot with the few words he does say. That's how good of a performer he is. He doesn't necessarily.
He does a lot with physical pantomimes.
He doesn't have to say a lot to express how he feels. Like one word thing can mean a lot.
Oh yeah.
And Ooh, we lost CH. Whoa, hello.
Hi, sorry, I accidentally pressed end there when I was just trying to
my
move.
bad.
No, not your fault at all. It was all on this side.
No problem. I thought it was me for a second. Yeah, so that's
No, my dumbass who did it.
that's all right. It's that's about it, man. Definitely play Phantom Pain if you haven't already, folks. If I don't know if you have certain expectations of how of the game living up to previous games, I wouldn't say it lives up to how the story is presented, but I think you'll still enjoy the game nonetheless. It's really it's really great gameplay wise.
I do wonder if new fans will like it more, or like new people who jump into the series will like it more than fans, or vice versa, or it'll be interesting to see how the favor of this game goes in terms of who's really at the top of this I love this game list in a little while. Like, it took a little while for Sons of Liberty to get its kind of fair share in terms of understanding its base and people liking the story. I do wonder if it'll be the same for this game.
That's a very interesting topic of discussion. I personally would say for those who are pretty mindful about the kind of games they play, I think they would appreciate it a lot for sure. And what it does in terms of like a stealth action game, it's definitely one of the best stealth action games out there for sure. It definitely blows away a lot of stealth action games that come out in the past. It is actually really truly is well designed, and the AI is really good. So,
and it really doesn't try to do 50-50 with stealth and action. It's really it's interesting. It's mostly like stealth is needed to understand where you're going, the areas and infiltration. But if you're in a hot spot, guns are always also a good countermeasure, because you can easily use our weapon system here.
Yeah, both options are really good, but I think if you want to get probably the best experience out of it, definitely going as stealthy as you can is probably the best. Especially with I love the favorite part is always reconning the area, so it's always the most fun part is looking through your binoculars and marking everyone that's in that area that you can see from a distance, and kind of in that you get that realm of suspense. So as you go closer in, and then you realize that there's like 10 other dudes you haven't even seen from a distance that are like in this room that you just walked into.
That's the worst. Like, you're just thinking like, okay, I marked you, I'm going to sneak in there and it'll be fine. And then, like, when you enter a room, like, suddenly focus mode kicks in as the guy who was like drinking coffees in the corner just like turns around and looks at you.
Yeah, any angle you can pretty much get spotted on. You really gotta be on your A game when it comes to that. I've been playing it without the reflex mode personally. I find it a bit more, I wouldn't say challenging, but I find it a bit more less intrusive, because I feel like the reflex mode takes a lot of the suspense out of getting caught, because it just it gives you the opportunity to start shooting sleeping darts at them, and just kind of feel like I lose a little bit of suspense with that, because the Splinter Cell never had that really. So that's always been my motto. Mm-hmm. I've always enjoyed that suspense of getting caught. It's like, shit, I gotta get out of here. That happened to me a bunch of times in Splinter Cell, which made the game a lot more fun when you get caught and just running away.
I mean, it's a learning experience too. If you don't have focus mode, or some people don't like the mark and execute system in Blacklist, so you can turn that off. And it just, for some people, just a much better experience where you learn the mechanics better by being forced into realizing what you did wrong, and how the game kind of punishes you for that.
Yeah. I mean, I like that it's an option for sure. I mean, I've been doing pretty good without it. I mean, I haven't really gotten any S rankings, but I've been getting a bunch of A's and B's, so I've been pretty happy with that. I'm not necessarily looking to get the best score ever. I just want to get through it, and I feel like I've been doing pretty good so far. Even without the reflex mode, I think I've probably learned to be better. I'm not getting caught without having the reflex mode. That's kind of helped me a bit more as well with learning what I made mistakes on. Instead of running towards the base, maybe I should start crawling from a distance a little bit before I even get there.
Have you ever had the situation where you're trying to get around a particular checkpoint or something. You're trying to get around them, and you're just like scoping out the soldiers to see what their patterns of walking are, so you can go around them. And then you see like that one guard who's like A++ or A+ in like intel or combat, and you're like, I'm gonna have to take out all these people just to get that guy on my team, aren't I?
Yeah,
that's
happened. That's happened to me too. Like since I've gotten that upgrade to kind of get an idea of what the ratings are for certain enemies that you want to potentially capture and have on your team. I've definitely had a lot of situations where like there's a group of 10 guys in like a one confined area, and one of those guys are like A++ on like R&D. Is like, damn, I gotta figure out a way to take out all these guys either lethally or non-lethally, and without alerting that guy, so I don't end up shooting him, and then risk him getting killed on the way of getting Fulton to Mother Base and having him be on the sick bay for a while.
Because if they get injured, there's a chance that they might. If they get injured during the scuffle, they might go to the sick bay. They might not even survive going to Mother Base.
Exactly. Yeah. If you shoot them, and you eventually they'll die if when they're laying down on the ground in pain. Yeah. If you don't Fulton them right away and you like wait till the last minute, yeah, there's potential that they may die. So you also got to consider that. So. Also, a nice upgrade of sleeping gas does help. So, throwing some sleeping gas there definitely helps. It's just there's a lot going on for the game, man. It's just a lot of moving parts that can really change the way you play, especially with encounters like that when you have a guy that is the potential to join your group, and you want to go ahead and take him. And you have to change your strategy on how you want to approach an area you go to.
Yeah, it's a great game, and I would be interesting to see the post-game analysis from Konami and Kojima after all the hype has died down and they're not really worried about sales anymore, and they can open up about the production side of all this. Because I would love to have been the fly on the wall trying to figure out how Konami really screwed the pooch in terms of like getting Kojima kicked out, because he was with Konami since the 80s.
Yeah, he started out with them on the 80s and as like maybe a programmer. Yeah, that's what happens. I'd really love to see like a documentary on how that whole situation went down. I don't know if we'll ever get it, but or a book. A book would be cool. I'd read it.
Yeah, a tell-all. That would be very interesting.
Anything would be interesting. I don't know if that will happen. It will forever be kind of a mystery as to what went down. Other than that, I'm actually looking forward to the soon-to-be released expansion of The Witcher 3. I actually pre-ordered that for like $8 is going for on the PS4. It's $8 for that expansion. I was surprised to see how cheap it was for that expansion. Like 10 hours of content for like $8. Well, it's retail for like $10, but it's like pre-order you get like $1 off. So
doesn't it feel really weird to put your money down for DLC for a developer will do the DLC well? Like, it's not a gamble anymore, and it's not like Mighty Number 9 where you're just like throwing good money after bad, just like, I gotta find something to make this experience better. It's like, no, I know they're gonna be fine, so it doesn't really. So I'm just gonna sit back, throw in $8, and enjoy the show.
Yeah, well, CD Projekt Red is one of the very rare developers that I would put down money to pre-order DLC, because I know they'll do right by us, and I haven't really bought DLC in a while. It's probably since like Mass Effect 2, probably the last DLC I ever bought.
Ooh.
And I would assume the next DLC that they put out for Witcher 3 is probably going to be a bit more, because it says on the description it's going to be 20 hours worth of content for the next DLC, but the one that's coming out soon, the Hearts of Stone, is only 10 hours. So I would assume, since the season pass is only $24.99, and getting it without the season pass, I would assume it would be at least like maybe $30, maybe an extra $5. So I would assume the next DLC that comes out is probably going to be about maybe $20, and I actually don't really mind paying it because it's gonna be worth it. I mean, I love the series. I love what they've done with The Witcher, and I'm down to play more expansions on that story with that character. So
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. And also the Bloodborne DLC too.
Why the hell would they release it on the same day as The Witcher 3? And also, no, they're also releasing it as with Fallout 4 on the same day. Where it's
Wow.
like, dude, do you just not want anybody to play your game? Because it's Fallout 4. You're literally, you're not going to get anybody to play it. I mean, I love you guys, and Bloodborne and From Software, you guys are talented, but what the hell were you thinking?
I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, I'll probably play them both simultaneously. See if I can get it done.
One hand is operating the mouse and keyboard, and you're like an iguana where your eyes are like separated in different directions.
Yeah.
And like the other hand's got the PS4 and you know, working that.
I mean, I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta play. I gotta play some Bloodborne and then play some Fallout. Oh my god! I don't know if I think I may not leave the house when Fallout comes out. I remember getting so into Fallout 3 when I first played it, like right out of high school. I was like, ooh, that was a good time.
I assume by the time you leave your room after Fallout 4, it will actually look like the Fallout Apocalypse, because enough time has gone by where it's like, oh man, I'm ready for this now. I lived it.
Exactly. Yeah, other than that, I'm really looking forward to playing some more Metal Gear and delve into some more Super Mario Maker. That's been something I wanted to try out, and actually some games I wanted to buy for the Wii U. So I'm dusting off my Wii U to play Super Mario Maker, and then soon to be Yoshi's Woolly Worlds pretty soon, and in the month of October. Yeah, I can't wait for Witcher 3 DLC. I'm excited for that.
I as well.
To come out, and I also didn't talk about the. I knew the new Hitman game was going to come out this year, so it got delayed till March. I don't know what comes out in March, but I think it's probably the best move because they didn't have enough.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have enough content at release because it's a really weird structure they're going for with this new Hitman game, where I think you pay a certain set price and then they slowly release updates with like different levels for that game. It's just it doesn't seem like doesn't seem more of a structured like
Kickstarter
linear story kind of thing. It doesn't seem like that at all. It seems like they will be releasing updates for the game that will have newer levels. It seems like more of a episodic kind of game.
That'll be interesting.
It seems like that to me. And
I do wonder if that's because the fans are getting older, and as we're adults, we only really have enough time for episodic chunks and not these long playthroughs, so they're trying to break it up as much as possible.
Honestly, it sounds like it could work, like especially with the Hitman series. I could see it work for it being episodic, and that formula of gameplay, if they're going to go back to Blood Money, that could definitely work as something that would be episodic. If you get maybe like 2 or 3 levels an episode, that could definitely work, especially with how they're boasting about the levels in the game being bigger than the biggest level in Absolution, which is the Chinatown mission. They talked about how the level they showed off for the new Hitman game is like maybe 20 times or bigger than the biggest level in Absolution, which is the Chinatown mission. So they're just boasting about that, and just how many different targets you can take out if you want to do those contracts that they're bringing back from Absolution. You can make your own contracts.
Oh, very, very nice. I thought that was a really, really cool addition that they had into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that aspect. Just to kind of go back to brass tacks when it comes to like what made the series. Like I always wanted to see a next gen Blood Money. We didn't really get that with Absolution. It was a slight different departure, and it was an interesting departure at that. But I like to see them go back to Blood Money, which is like their magnum opus of Hitman game right there. That still stands the test of time.
And it's classy too because it begins and ends with those drapes.
Yes.
Blood Money, I gotta say, that is absolutely one of those pinnacle stories. Like that was, you could just pick that one, and that could be like a perfect representation of the series so far.
Absolutely, that's probably my favorite story from the Hitman series. It just kind of sums up what the whole series is about. I just love the presentation of it, and just was well executed, and the level designs. It's just really brilliant level design for the time. And even at the time where they were putting out, when they were coming out with like a bunch of like NPCs at one time, that hasn't really been seen when it came out. Just all those NPCs at the Mardi Gras level. Granted, they all kind of like were doing the same animation, but it was pretty cool at the time.
Yeah, having those big environments, all those big characters, like that was something even Assassin's Creed was not exactly doing, where it was like the number of people that you had to deal with in terms of like seeing, like, okay, I need to find a cover, I need to change costumes quickly, I need to hide the body here, and a next gen Blood Money with with these maps that are very detailed and very open and very. There was a few of those in Absolution. Like I remember it was kind of like the 1950s street where Agent 47 was like near a garage repair shop, and he was trying to take out greasers. And it's like that. If that kind of level was expanded, that would be a next gen Blood Money that I'd be very much interested in seeing.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. We'll just have to see how the game progresses when it comes out in March. It's supposed to come out in December, but they got delayed till March, which is I expected to happen because I didn't think that was going to be really ready with when they were showing off the beta. Like at the same time, I still don't really know to the full extent on how their model will work. But all I heard it's going to be kind of like episodic. I could definitely see. It's definitely going to be interesting to see if people will put down $60 for a game that would be episodic, because they're not going to the episodes aren't going to be available all at once. It seems like they're going to be updating it as it progresses. So just like over time, just like Telltale. Like I guess it's just kind of to the effect of like paying for like a season pass kind of. And I'm still waiting for that Game of Thrones episode. What the hell's going on with that? I just thought about it.
I guess they just really want to drag out the suspense for as long as possible.
I don't know about that. Like, I mean, I just kind of want to see how it ends. But to be honest, like, it's not really the best Telltale game that they put out. Like, it's a nice little add-on to the series. Yeah. It's decent, but it's no Wolf Among Us or really Walking Dead.
No.
But I mean, I might as well finish it. I mean, I kind of want to see where it ends, and I don't even know where it goes from there. I kind of forgot what happened in the last episode. It's been so long.
Yeah, that's the gambit you run of doing downloadable content, as Valve certainly knows. And
yeah, especially with all the other games they're working on, with Borderlands and who knows what else.
Borderlands with Game of Thrones. They got their
they have their hands in the pot.
Minecraft. They got the story version of Minecraft, which is weird because you can buy the first episode on a disc, and then the DLC, then the rights to the other games are on that disc. But if you don't have online and you just bought the disc, you're buying it just like a 1-episode disc. That's it. It's like I don't understand what the logic here was. That's like it should have either been. You can buy a season pass with all the digital stuff, or wait until we got it all on one disc for a season, and then you can buy it in stores. I don't understand why they're going with this really weird stuff. And
yeah. I mean that's what they did with The Wolf Among Us. I mean they put out the Retail disc for the PS4. I haven't played the PS4 version. It probably runs better than it did on the 360. The 360, the performance is terrible sometimes, especially when loading.
It needs updates.
Yeah, it definitely was not the best performance, especially when certain action scenes happen, and also with like transitioning from a scene and the scene loads. It was pretty bad. I feel like it really chugged down to like 10 frames a second at times. It was that bad. But I haven't really had that problem with Game of Thrones. But it's I can't say that presentation is really that great either for Game of Thrones. It's kind of like a standard.
It's weird,
Game of
right?
It's kind of a standard Telltale game almost. The presentation, like compared to Wolf Among Us, I don't know if because it was the lighting or something, but the presentation on that was a hell of a lot better than anything they put out.
They tried to make the backgrounds in Game of Thrones, I guess, because like with Wolf Among Us, it's crime noir, so they tried to have an off-colored color palette. They had the hard, very soft lighting for the characters.
Right.
They tried to have the very harsh, sharp lines, and then with Game of Thrones, I think they're thinking of very grand and very epic and adventurous, and so they tried to have the feeling of like an oil painting in the background.
Yeah,
but it just looks flat.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I got out of it. They feel like they were kind of going for like a mosaic kind of like background, but it wasn't. They didn't pull off that well.
We're cultured.
I thought I had cataracts because the background was so blurry and bad. I was like, what the heck's going on here?
Why are you putting depth of field in your background? That's just distracting.
Did I need some glasses or something? It was like so blurry and the background was so like distracting.
Mm-hmm.
I know what they were going for, but it just it didn't really work out that well.
And it doesn't really mesh well with the character models that they're using because they're more defined and detailed. And it's not a problem with the other games because the character models kind of match the environment, but the environment is like the big sore thumb in Game of Thrones visual presentation. And it looks fine when it's indoors, but when it's outdoors, where it's like, oh, look at the vast grand vistas, it looks like, wow, this is painted on.
Chaos Theory had better depth of field.
I will agree with that.
100%. Like the lighthouse you can actually see in the beginning of the game. It was funny. Yeah, like the lighthouse you can see from like a good far away from the beginning of the level, and then you get close to that lighthouse in Chaos Theory.
Yeah, oh hell yeah, they made it, and also what is it? The screen box. I can't remember what the word is right now, but the distance in terms of seeing the environments and far off in the distance. That's fake for a lot of big grand views, but with Game of Thrones, it just looked extra not moving. Just like they tried to put like a little gifs of like birds flying around in the distance, but that just looked like, wow, it just even looks worse. Like just like stop trying to draw attention to it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It's a shame because we had so much potential. We had so much high hopes for Game of Thrones Telltale Games, and it hasn't really lived up to expectations or kind of what the series is about. Like they don't really. It's kind of more attracting the TV show audience than the actual kind of source material, which is it's a licensed game from HBO, so they're going with that aspect. And doesn't seem like Game of Thrones to me. There's no like nudity or anything like that, which is kind of always what it's always been about. But it seems like they're more keeping it more mainstream.
Do you know how much flack Telltale would get, in all honesty, for having a sex minigame in the Game of Thrones adaptation? Even though that would be like perfectly fine, they would either get vicious comments from people like saying like, you demean sex, how dare you, or the other one which would be like, this reminds me of God of War, how I would have these sex mini games. So maybe they're trying to scale that back, but I do feel like the more adult content is mostly relegated to the violence and not really to the other parts, which are the very taboo stuff, and Game of Thrones incest or fratricide, or a lot of other kind of very sensitive subjects.
Right. I mean, they don't necessarily have to make it any kind of gameplay element. Those sexual scenes, it could be cutscenes easily.
Yeah.
And then also we gotta take into the fact that even the sex that is in Game of Thrones, a lot of it is just not really for glorification of it. in a sense is used more as a tool than anything else, especially when it comes to the politics in that show or the book. That is definitely used a lot to kind of for one's self gain, not necessarily that is there for the sake of being taboo, but I guess it could be seen that way, or there could be kind of another message behind what the definition of like how sex can influence certain things in politics in any sense.
Yeah, I mean they do that when Daenerys' first marriage to Drogo. It kind of actually just shows off the culture that Drogo has and kind of what they value and what they and how they view even something like intimacy. Right.
So those are interesting points that could have been in the game, but just had their own take on it, and they just kind of watered it down a little bit.
I really do wish they would have either stuck to the books or done their own thing, which they kind of did their own thing with Walking Dead. They're doing their own thing with Tales from the Borderlands, and it's kind of hard to tell if they're doing their own thing with Wolf Among Us, because it's kind of a prequel. And with Game of Thrones, I do feel like that big HBO stamp has a lot of baggage with it in terms of because they focus a lot on the actors of the main character, like Cersei or Tyrion or Jon, and then you have like the big moments like the Purple Wedding, and it's like, yeah, these are kind of really only important if you know them from the TV show, because these stories can kind of still exist without having it drag. Like, oh look, it's Arya, wink wink, she's playing Arya. Like, we get it. You don't need to stop the entire scene just because you managed to get the woman who plays Daenerys in for a scene or two.
Yeah, necessarily didn't have to intertwine it with the events of what was going on the show. Although those events are pretty important, but you can definitely write around certain other kinds of storylines that branch off that from the cause of the events of what goes on in the show, but not necessarily have to rely on it too heavily, because they do rely on it a lot, especially with the events that happen in the show. You witnessing it from a different perspective definitely does kind of cheapen the overall product in a way. It kind of seems more of a lazy way to kind of write a scene or two to add that in there. Could have been done better, but that's just me.
No, I agree, especially since they really I don't know if it's crowbarring in, but the Game of Thrones TV opening, where it's like, yeah, we get it, that's for the TV show, you don't really need to do that here, because this is a video game. And usually with all the other Telltale games, they're usually either introduced in their own very quirky way, like with the Tales from the Borderlands episode introductions, or they're done in-game. It's not just like, oh, here's this credit sequence that we always have, and then we're going to put the names here. It felt very much like, no, you need to use the main theme from Game of Thrones, and you need to have the credit sequence in order to use our actors. Like, fine, we'll do it.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary. I still hold the other Game of Thrones game that's not from Telltale. It's probably the better Game of Thrones game you're gonna get that doesn't rely heavily on the show, because it's mainly based on the books, but it's also telling the story of other characters that are mentioned in the books, but they actually have their own kind of background stories that goes on and gets mentioned briefly, but never gets entirely too detailed about it, unless you kind of read any of the kind of spin-offs or any kind of additional information you find elsewhere. But that was probably a perfect example of like a pretty good Game of Thrones game. Although the gameplay wasn't great, it was more of that's one example of a game that I it's definitely worth playing for the story, and even though the gameplay's not a little bit rough, but once you get through it, you'll enjoy it for playing it, because the story is so good for that game.
I will put that on the queue.
I definitely enjoyed it. It was a good story that you got there, and you get like a cameo from George R.R. Martin at the wall, so that's pretty funny.
Wait, is it the one where like they all look at him and it's like, wait a minute, how we are all starving to death? How the hell is he still that big?
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was a while back. I think that was I don't know who put that out as a publisher, but yeah, I remember playing that and I had a good time with it. It's more of like a MMO RPG kind of gameplay. Yeah, a little bit. It reminds me a lot more of I guess like the Witcher 1 gameplay almost. It was kind of like that. You just kind of tap.
Cool.
You kind of tap. You kind of if you're on the computer, it's probably the best way to play it. You're just clicking on things, kind of like Dragon Age, like the kind of original Dragon Age.
Oh, Origins.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Okay.
But not as good. Not as intuitive, but it's playable. But you're not gonna be blown away by the gameplay. I think the story is what keeps it going. And the voice acting is pretty good. I enjoyed it. Definitely a lot better Game of Thrones game than the Telltale one.
Oh, that's too bad.
Definitely a lot better.
That's good for that, but too bad for Telltale because they usually have been knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, I mean, story-wise, is not really close. It doesn't get close to that other Game of Thrones game, but that's a story for another day. I don't. That's definitely worth checking out. I definitely recommend it. But other than that, is there anything else that you want to get into for today's lovely episode of Bloody Thumbs CH?
I think I've spoken my piece, and I would like to go off to Nunites, as my grandparents would say. So I think I'm good. I'm going to be getting into a few games, and I might have a review for you all next time.
All right, I'm looking forward to that, man. So, yeah, glad we were able to do this. Better late than never. Actually, I've been wanting.
All my fault on that end.
No worries. I wanted to record this as possible, as soon as possible, because I probably won't be. I'll probably be busy for the rest of the week. I actually have another concert to go to this week with the girlfriend, and also we're gonna go see Hollywood Babylon live in Vegas later this week. So we're gonna see
Sweet.
Gonna see Kevin Smith in person.
Oh, very nice.
So that's very, very exciting.
Wait, I thought. Wait, is he a mainstay of it, or is he just a guest star?
Oh, it's a concert that we're going to that's separate, but there's also another event we're going to that's it's pretty much the podcast that he does, but it's going to be at a live stage. This is a different event than the concert.
Oh,
that's a different day.
Oh, okay.
But it's pretty much his podcast, the Hollywood Babylon he does. It's just in front of a live audience. So if you ever heard that, he pretty much does the podcast in front of a live audience. So I'll be attending that one that comes to Vegas later this week. So pretty excited about that. See what happens.
That's awesome. Because I absolutely, I think his movies are either, nowadays are either so-so or kind of bad. I always find him entertaining as hell on a podcast. Yeah,
he's a great storyteller, and I love hearing pretty much what's on his mind. So I think it's pretty good podcaster, and I always enjoy listening to him speak about all sorts of things in the world of culture and things like that. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know for sure on how that goes. And we had a quick question for the podcast before we go. It's a real quick one, but it's from from Deep Voice asking me what's any other next tattoo ideas I have for myself.
Yeah.
As you know, I didn't say anything yet on the podcast, but I did get a 47 tattoo, Agent 47 tattoo to accompany the Dark Knight himself.
You are a beast. I see a needle, and the next thing I know, I have a damp rag on my head because I passed out on the ground. But you just damn, man, you got that dedication.
I'm very dedicated. Like, it's pretty much what I've been told. Like, once I get one tattoo, I mean, I want more. I like getting them. I like just expressing my love for many things. Like, love me video games, love me Batman. So I got Bayonetta, my Batman, and Agent 47 tattoo. So any other future ideas for a tattoo, I probably have in my brain right now. I've always been interested in probably getting some kind of daily premonition tattoo, but I just haven't figured out a design that I like to have. Maybe like a FK in a coffee. Maybe tattoo. Maybe that'd be kind of nice.
I think you could definitely pull that one off.
Yeah, that's how much I love the game, so I'll definitely express it in the tattoos that I get. So definitely, we'll see what happens. I'll leave a photo in the description of the podcast if you guys are interested in seeing my 47 tattoos. Actually, the design from Blood Money. So that's my favorite design of 47 in Blood Money. I don't know if you've seen his recent design that they did for the new Hitman. I'm not a huge fan of it. It kind of looks way different than how he did before. I don't know if it's just because of the beta, but I think his face changed a little bit. But still not a huge of a fan. It seems like he's going through that Sam Fisher phase where he gets younger again.
It's Benjamin Buttoning. All the cool guys are doing it.
Exactly. So, thank you for the question, Deep Boys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to send them to me or CH on Twitter anytime you want. Don't necessarily have to wait for us to request them. Anytime you want, send us questions, and we'll go ahead and answer them on the next podcast when we are available to do so. You can always check us out on the BGB.com and the soon-to-be Bloody Thumbs podcast, which I've been talking about for a long-ass time. I am working on it. No worries. It is going to happen.
You are hard, dude. You give yourself too little credit. You work so hard, so ladies and gentlemen, do not give him guff. He is working his buns off.
I'm just taking my time with it. I don't want to rush something that I feel like it's not going to be as good as it can be. So I'm just taking my time with it. Life's going on, right. So that's another factor. So it's definitely in the works, folks. I definitely want to get that out before the end of the year, which I think will happen. And check us out on iTunes, and be sure to check out our Audible link. If you want to get a free audiobook, just go to audibletrial.com/Bloody Thumbs. It's easy, simple. You don't have to pay anything. All you got to do is just download the free audiobook, and you can keep it, listen to it as many times as you want, and then cancel your subscription right away. That's all you got to do. As long as you download a free audiobook, it's going to go ahead and help us out, and then send us some checks on our way to help support the podcast in terms of the website or any kind of contest we may put together on a special occasion. It's always going to go through that. So it's a win-win for you and win-win for us, for your podcast listeners. And Audible definitely is going to help them out too. Check out their services. Fantastic.
Absolutely. I'm not only an advocate, I'm a user myself.
There you go. See what happens when you get that nice brand promotion there. So I will definitely be looking to see if I can get any other kind of promotions like that. Maybe get involved with the whole Loot Crate. That's a very cool thing that's going on right now. To get the monthly orders of cool things randomized. So I definitely see if we can get that sponsorship going. Other than that, folks, thank you all for listening to episode 167 of Bloody Thumbs Podcast. I am Spoonage47, signing out for today. You guys enjoy yourselves. Keep it real. Keep cool. And we'll see you on the next one.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am CH Gorog, and thank you very much for your very, very dedicated support. We couldn't have done it without you guys, and we still can't do it without you guys. So we love you guys, and hope you have a very good night, day, afternoon, whenever this is. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.